This was a photo that was shared by Phil Tolan. This is Mont Saint Michel in France. So we'll have a go at that. I think it's set up for a good watercolour painting, hopefully. First wash needs to be nice and light, because again, like most paintings and watercolours, they rely on contrast. So really just staying in the sky at the top here, because I suppose the focal point for me is possibly here, where the these sort of spiky bits are coming at the top. So, and it gets a little bit warmer as it comes down. And this is just raw sienna I'm using here, and I shall paint over the mount, because this is going to be painting these warm parts here as well. I'll just pour a bit more of that warmth up into here. So I shall now just add a little bit of red, and when I say a little bit, just a little bit. And now paint into that, and I think we'll actually have those nice and warm. Well, any of the bits that I want to have warm, I should put some of that on there. And just pull that up into there as it's starting to dry. I've got a bit of a line hearing. Hopefully I can just save that without making a mess. Fine. And just worry about the foreground afterwards. So I shall just put some of that down there. So now I need to let that dry. So now I need to add that purple haze in the distance. So let's just use ultramarine blue and that crimson just to make a kind of purple. Steer it slightly towards blue. That kind of looks okay. Again, it doesn't need to be very thick, so I want it to be translucent. So that's kind of disappearing behind the mount, like so. And just ruffle that edge up a little bit. So that's just preparation for later. So I think we can now go to a smaller brush. So that was the Escoda Ultima size 14, and now I'm going to use the Escoda Perla size 14. So we'll use, let's have a go with this, what it was called, dusk pink. That it's quite dark. So I probably will mix it with other things as well, but so we'll go fairly thick paint because we want to do this first off. So it's a nicely loaded up brush. So this is where you need a brush that does have a fine point like so. And I find the best way to do these sort of details is just press slightly, then as you come down just increase the pressure on the brush and it will just get wider, so you can get a nice fine point like so. And the best way I find to do stuff like this is not to get too detailed with it. Just paint it simply. But it'd be very easy to overwork it, and as you can tell by my drawing, I haven't included all the details. So let's just try some of that Prussian blue. But that's going to be quite a cool blue, so that'll be quite good for over here. And this needs to be painted confidently without going over areas again and again, and ideally try to just suggest some of these details. So I'm going to need to leave bits of white paper and so on. Again, this is a tricky scene, but they're all the watercolours are always tricky, as you know. You never get an easy painting. So we've got some warmth on this side, so I will mix on the paper. And the important thing is just to let it mix on its own. So now I've actually used quite a lot of water there. So that's going to run down and create all sorts of things, interesting effects hopefully. And it's dark again over here. So again, get the point. Don't have to paint them all, but it's only the locals will know that I've got this wrong. But it's just a case of just capturing the atmosphere of the scene. And if I get this bit quite good, the rest of it I can get away with. And you know, that's why I don't necessarily mind using photographs that aren't that good quality, although this is obviously a fantastic photo. That if it's slightly blurry sometimes using a photo, it actually can work to your advantage because you're not going to be concentrating on all the details. So it's starting to look good, hopefully. So just vary the colours, you know, keep it on the purples and blues. But I use a bit of that yellow ochre just to take away some of that purple. So a bit of purple on the roof there. So this is going to be a colourful painting. But, it's quite nice to have some colour sometimes. Quite often I'll use greys and things. So if I don't want this to run down to that colour, I'll just leave a little bit of a gap in the paper, which will also act as a highlight. So I've got to kind of go slowly at this because it wouldn't take a lot for it to become a mess. So it's all very cool over here. So that actually should be a little bit higher up there. So, and let's put some yellow ochre on that as well, but just some watery stuff. Just let it run down here just to keep this alive. That while it's got this pool of water, it's going to not dry out, so I can just continue bringing it down. So that then comes down to here. Again, just keep that alive, and then I'll come back over here before this dries and just keep reloading. So let's get some orange on the front of those buildings there. That's it. We stick with the yellow ochre. I've got some hands of yellow on there, but I think that might just be a little bit too bright. A little bit of hands of yellow just to steer it more towards orange. And the paint needs to be watery because that's too thick. It's a little bit too much. So let's just wash some of that away. Looks like it's on fire. So just water on there, and I suppose think about keeping the pool here, and I can desaturate some of that by just letting it mix with all this other stuff. I even throw a bit of purple on it. The thing to do is don't panic if something doesn't go quite right like that. Just keep going, and that will dry a lot lighter as well, so that's fine. And I think I'll wait for that to dry to just leave a little bit of a gap. What I can do, if I just leave a little bit of a gap there, I should be able to get this dark in here. And let's go back to that purple. It's almost like a very dark black purple. So quite interesting. It's always quite good to try some different pigments occasionally, although maybe on a subject like this not so clever, but it's looking right so far. Well, I think I may well add a bit of a tide in there, or a little bit of water. But, we'll see. So you can see I don't actually need to paint any detail over this side at all, really, and I think it'd be beneficial not to, other than maybe just a suggestion of that tree, which I've just put in the wrong place, but never mind. What can we do? We can just bring that up there, fix it. The tree should have been there. That's because I'm talking away, not concentrating. So it's just a little suggestion, and then it comes down here, and then there's a little house here of some sort. So can suggest maybe the house there, just a lighter tone there maybe. But, there's nothing to gain by putting detail in here. That you know, concentrate it on this side here. So just leave a little bit of a white paper there. There's actually a lorry parked there, so it sort of shows the scale of you know, how big this is. We need to continue the warmth over this side. So the wall there, which is nice and warm. Front of a house there. These houses, all sorts of bits and bobs, and then just paint it up into there. Back into some of that Prussian blue on the Dawn Musk. Keep getting what it's called. That gives us a nice dark there. So to create light, you need the dark, and I said that 1 or 2 times. And top of the rooftop there, and well, we can take off the page, bring that across here, and now I'm not painting any detail, just suggesting stuff in there. So before this dries, it'd be a good idea to just drop those windows or the shadows of the supports, but it's important not to overdo it because it's a loose painting, and if I start putting in lots of detail, it's going to spoil the effect. So I'm not sure whether they're trees or rocks, but I can just put some darker areas in just to give it some shape, but not fiddly details. Just the odd window. So it won't take a lot to lose what's working well on there. So let's just run the brush across here. So my plan is to, I suppose, take an inspiration from its partner, the one in Cornwall, St Michael's Mount. That sometimes, you know, when you're looking at it, you can see just a band of water that gives you a reflection, which I thought might be quite nice. Just get these darks in before it does dry. I think probably best to leave that now before it gets. So what I should do is just take some clean water and just run that across here. And just let it paint itself. help it along a little bit with some of that warmth. And some of that purple. Sometimes it's better just to let it do its thing itself, so let's just let that run down. So we'll dry that, and then I shall put some sand in here, I think. So I think I just need to put in a little bit of detail, because it's a lot of the stuff I put in there was done so wet into wet it has kind of disappeared to nothing, but just paint it just loose, because like I say, it doesn't take a lot to spoil it. We've just got to say a few hard edges, maybe just suggest some windows there. I think that's probably enough, really. So let's put some sand in. So it definitely looks like a field, doesn't it? Because it looks like there's grass there, but maybe it's hard to tell. So use a bigger brush, really. Let's use some of that purple. So just creating hopefully a bit of a lead in to the scene, and just put in some warmth in this foreground. Just drop it in and just let it paint itself, see what it does. And I've got a few specks that have flicked up onto the sky, so we'll turn those into birds flying around the need too many, and just darken it in that corner there. So I think I'll leave it at that. It's got kind of a mysterious kind of look to it that I think sometimes from experience, if I've tried to put more detail in it, it's kind of lost that fresh look to it. So I'll just dry that off and take the tape off. So remove the reference picture. I think with a scene like this, if I'd had spent more time on a detailed drawing, that I could put more detail in and do that as I'm painting it, that it's difficult if you try to put the detail in afterwards, it ends up looking like it's just stuck on. So this sort of scene, I think, would be good to work it up to a larger painting. This has really captured, I think, the atmosphere of the scene. But yeah, definitely as a larger scene, I think it would work quite well with just a little bit more detail. But with small paintings, you don't actually need a huge amount of detail that obviously with a larger painting you would. So I think that's worked out fairly well. So hopefully you found that useful. So thanks for joining me. And if you're new to the channel, which obviously I saw some of you were there, so hit the like and subscribe, and good luck with your watercolours, and I'll see you soon. So bye for now.